We got us another one here, folks. Dollar bin movie. Righteous Villains. And usually, when you get a film that has actual names at the top, it might be a little bit more interesting. Because, some of these dollar film cases, they don't have any actor names on the top. They don't have it anywhere on the case. They just show off an interesting picture and say, watch this. On the back, again, we have Echo Bridge. That's not surprising. And above here, we see SP releasing. And a bunch of the ones that I've been talking about have the SP releasing. Think your Devil Machine, Dollface, Blue Call. They all had SP releasing here. And I think even Followed did. Though Followed is the best one yet of these dollar bin movies that I've seen so far. Followed remains the best one. And this one by no means comes close to Followed in terms of being an interesting film. Not in the slightest. This film stars Gary Dourdan, Adam Deacon, and Lois Brabin-Platt. Righteous Villains. Before the apocalypse, 3, there will be war. Looking at the cover here, you see a woman with wings, a sword, and a gun. You see a couple people in masks. You see somebody with a tattoo on her face. You see a dude with a gun, and then you see guys with horns. I would say that this case is about 50% accurate. There is this dude. He actually does exist in the film. So does he. I think I might have seen him in a shot somewhere. And I think these two are the same person. But the misleading part is there's no sword, there's no wings, there's none of that at all in the film. But she is in here. I don't think she has that little thing in her face. This is a very forgettable movie if you haven't realized it. And the plot is... I'm still trying to figure out what it is, but I will read the back of the case to you. In this modern-day tale, all of the damned are on Earth, and hell is empty. There is one boy who has the power to save humanity, but he has been captured by followers of the devil unknown as the Illuminated. Jolie and Jeremiah are descendants of the followers of Christ, and the only two capable of saving the boy. They journey together to the den of the devil, who has been incarnated in the body of a serial child rapist, to take on his followers and save the human race from being doomed. Oh, also, whatever you see here, this is also isn't in the film at all. That's not in there. Let's see what else is also not in here. I don't think I've seen that, or that shot. Oh man, this back of the case is completely misleading. None of this is in here. This looks like a much better film. All these shots here, this looks like a much better movie than what we got. What this film actually showed you is completely drab and boring. There are literally 5-minute shots of people just walking slowly down a pathway, talking very little. It's just to pad out the runtime. And, like Dollface, this film is thankfully painfully short. It's only 76 minutes long. So that's the saving grace, I suppose, is that it's short. Which should never be a movie's saving grace, it being short. The plot is pretty much what the back of the case did say. We have the lady Jolie, who is formerly a prostitute, and then we have her husband, Mickey, who is, I don't know, I guess he's some sort of cop or something. He's got a gun, whoever he is, he's driving down the road in a fancy-looking car, and he stops, and you hear his narration going on, where he says, "Have you ever heard of love at first sight?" And then he looks at this prostitute lady, her, at the street corner, and says, "Well, that was it." So he falls in love with the girl immediately. So they go up and they start flirting. He gives her his coat, and then the lady's pimp shows up, and he immediately shoots him in the face. And so he takes the girl into his car, and they drive off. Sometime later, we see that she is pregnant, and they co-own a bar together. He's sitting on one of the stools reading a book or something, and two dudes walk in, and they're being very rude, and they both pull out guns, probably to try to rob them. He seems unperturbed, and so does she. She pulls out a gun on the two dudes, and they have guns strapped on him. They start getting into a farce. She shoots one of the two dudes. The remaining of the two dudes shoots him. Then he shoots the last of the two dudes. The two dudes die. And then he dies of his wounds. And then she tries to kill herself but fails. Because the gun was empty, clipped, or whatever. Or at least that's what you think it was, because you tried to shoot yourself, but the gun kept on clicking. So then she points it up at the ceiling, and then suddenly it starts firing. So maybe there's something supernatural keeping her alive. Where's the child that she was pregnant with? I don't know. Because we immediately skip ahead sometime later, and we see that she is no longer pregnant. We have no idea where the child is, and she finds this weird cult. And this cult says that they follow the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is basically the Book of Enoch, which is a series of scrolls found in the caves by the Dead Sea, hence the name, the Dead Sea Scrolls. If you wish to know more about what those are, you can feel free to YouTube, Google, look them up as you see fit. They can tell you it far more than what I can. But basically, it's biblical non-canon stuff, detailing things that happened before the flood. And it gets pretty graphic, pretty cool stuff. The wars, all that good crap. Anyways, and they say that the writers of the Dead Sea Scrolls were people who lived in these caves. They were shunned by the outside world and all that, and then they died out. Their descendants are fewer and fewer in number as they get to present day. And then you learn that she's one of the descendants of the people who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then Jeremiah, who is some other dude. He's not on the cover here. He's not on the case at all. But you see his name, at least right here. He's basically this lady whose name is Jolene. He's Jolene's sidekick or whatever. And a running gag throughout the film is that everybody knows who Jeremiah is. They think he's a legend. They think he's pretty awesome. And then he has no idea why. He has no idea why. Everybody thinks he's this cool dude that's basically a legend. Nobody knows why. He doesn't know why, rather. And the shtick is that these two have to go to the den of the devil's place, because every 4 years, the devil possesses a new soul, a new body of the person who's the most sinful on the planet. And he has basically taken over the world government. Hell has been emptied of all the devils and demons and all that stuff. And they have all taken over the earth and possessed all the people. And yeah, it's a grand old time. Though there's a lot less fire and things blowing up than you'd expect. It's pretty tame, really. What else? They go on their little trip to save the child, a mysterious boy who has been kidnapped by the devil. And who this child is, I found myself zoning out through a lot of these long periods of exposition, so maybe it got explained, and maybe it didn't. But to me, it never got explained. I either zoned out during it, or they actually never did explain it. I'm theorizing that the child that the devil kidnapped is her child, because in the scene where this dude dies, she was pregnant, and we have no sign, hide, or terror of any type of information of what happened to this child that she was pregnant with. We have no idea what happened to him. So I'm thinking that the child that the devil kidnapped is her child. That's kind of why I think that's probably why she's so invested into getting the child back, but then you realize, no, that's not it. The reason why she's so invested in finding this child is because she was told that her husband, Mickey here, could come back to life as a reward for her if she were to perform this task. And for the dude, I have no idea what Jeremiah's reward was. I think it was the money. He was going to be paid £1 million to do this Exodus trip to rescue the kid, whatever. So they go on this little journey, and surprisingly, nobody stops them. There's like the devil has basically taken over the whole world, and you think, wow, he's got armies and all these things, but they don't stop them. He doesn't use them to stop them, to shoot them and all that stuff. Everybody's armed, but nobody stops them. So she gets to go unhindered towards the Devil's Mansion, and inside the Devil's Mansion is a fun house of weird and strange things that I guess were meant to shock you. I don't know. In one of the rooms where the devil is just sitting in a chair watching a pool table, there's a guy on a pool table who appears to be pregnant. I don't know how that happened. It's kind of like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, but where he gets impregnated. That one was played for laughs too, but this was just played for shock. I guess the devil's just sitting there watching the dude go into labor, and that's all that happens there. They don't really specify or explain what's going on there. They don't tell you who the dude is. He's just on the table going into labor, and the devil's watching it as if it's popcorn entertainment or something. So they go into the house, they go through the fun house of horrors until they meet the devil. The devil says, "Oh, I've been expecting you to." And then he brings out Mickey, who's just his body. Mickey's soul has moved on. So she's like, "That's not my husband," blah, 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 blah. And so the devil takes her and puts her on a crucifix to burn her alive. Jeremiah takes the money and he walks off to be killed by his grandfather, who takes his money instead, I guess. And that's the end of the film. That's it. They go on the journey, they have a lot of talking, that's nothing kind of talk, the nothing kind of talk. And then they die. No resolution. I guess the resolution is that she goes to heaven, where Mickey's soul is, so they kind of get reunited in the heaven plane. So I guess there's your happy ending, where we don't see them reunite. They just show a white screen and narration. This doesn't happen. The whole sword, gun, wings, that doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Nothing of this cool-looking crap happens. Nothing. None of this stuff happens. This case looks like a far better movie than the actual film. If you open the case up, you even see that she's on the disc. And she's not in the movie at all. The sword and the wings and all that stuff. She's not there. Very misleading. Very dull. Very boring. The dollar beat me on this one. But it was $1 all the same. I'll keep it, though. Maybe it'd be something to get drunk and laugh with your friends over. It might be one of those kind of movies when something eventually happens. Be more imaginative than this, folks.